Hey everybody, and thanks for watching Woodcrest Bonsai. I started my channel on the 1st of January of this year, but I had taken other videos. Before that, I just never did start the channel. And one of the earliest videos I did was on these 5 Parrot's Beak, Shohin Parrot's Beak. They're all very similar. I'm going to pan around here. And I worked the tops, but I didn't do any repotting. And that was in September of last year, even though the video didn't post until January of this year, because I didn't start my channel until January of this year. So now they need more work. Some of them only really need some minor trimming, and others need some restyling. And I'm going to repot all 5, because like this one here, they've kind of grown out of the pot a little bit. And a few of them, like these 2 here, are in the position that I want. So I'm just going to repot them just for rejuvenation purposes. I'm not going to change the position. But like this guy here, I'm going to change the position to here so that this is the front and we've got a nicer tree. So that will change the way that guy looks a lot. So I'm going to take 4 away and just start on 1. And I think what I'm going to do is just do the trimming first, and then I'll repot them all together. I like to save my old soil in a tray, and you can actually, at least I do this, I dry out old soil and re-sift it, and since it's mostly rocks and they almost never degrade, I can use that old soil. So let's get started with the first one. This is the first one, and I've decided to make this the front. I was confused about which front I wanted to use, because this could be the front too. Still got nice movement. And if this was going to be the front, then I need to take this off and leave this guy as the back branch, this guy here. And if this was the front, then this one needs to come off and use the smaller one as the back branch. So that's what I've decided. I'm going to take this branch off here. Actually, I can root that, and it's already got some pretty interesting movement. Then the rest of the tree just really needs some trimming. Get rid of the elongated growth, and there's a little bit of dead. I don't know if you can see, but like right here, there's some dieback, which is not that big of a deal. I'm going to shorten this guy. And move some of the leaves close to the trunk. So there you go. That's, I like the motion. And we have our main branches, our first main branch, our second main branch, our back branch comes up to the apex. So that was pretty fast. So let's do the second one now, which is this guy here. And it also has very nice movement. This is the front. We have our back branch and our first main branch, second main branch. It comes up to the apex. So we just really need to remove the excess. And this guy's a little peaked compared to the first one. You see how much more green this has, and this guy's kind of yellow with not a lot of leaves, and I really think that's because it just needs to be repotted. So the repotting process actually rejuvenates the tree. You keep trees small just with the pruning. Root pruning actually stimulates growth. So that guy, I think, is going to be very happy from being repotted. Get rid of some of the crud here. So this third guy here, I'm going to change the front to this. So I've got my movement up into here. I may wire this guy down as the first main branch, but even so, all this excess growth needs to come off. And this excess growth needs to come off here. The apex needs to be shortened. And the back branch could be shortened. So this is the angle that I'm going to plant this guy. And we really don't need this one here. So there we go. It still probably has some development that it needs. Like I really could probably use some of this little growth to come out this way. But wire that guy down and I think we'll have a pretty nice tree. It may go in a different pot, but I'm probably going to be able to put it back in this same pot, even at this different angle. So that's number 3. This one here, in the original video, had a whole bunch of growth. You can see this scar right here. And it was very straight, and it just did nothing for me. So I just basically took that whole top off in the first video. And today, if we look at it, I think I'm going to turn it into a slanting trunk. Get rid of the smaller stuff at the base. And then when I repot it, I'm going to repot it like this. And then bring this one down as the first main branch. And then we have a back branch. Even though it's not perfect, we could bring this down as the second main branch. And that'd be a pretty nice tree, and it'll be angled more like that. And see, these guys are so root bound. But I think they can go right back in the same pot. So this is also going to, the repotting process on this guy is also going to include repositioning the tree. And if it's the case that this is the first main branch, then all this excess growth here needs to come off. And here we've got our back branch, shorten the apex. So that's the next one. And last but not least, this guy here, which is probably the funkiest of them all. And this one here used to have just such a pretty little tree right there. It was going to be a little mame, and I was using this branch, which has now thickened tremendously because I promoted it, as a sacrifice branch. Hail took all of that off. So now what have we got here? I think we need to change the angle on this guy too. And this crazy growth here just does not belong at all. Just take that off. I'm also going to remove this way down, and actually this one too. This will be my first main branch. And this one also, because it really had such a drastic dieback when the little tree, because the sacrifice branches, I wasn't styling them, I was just letting them grow. So now, you know, I'm trying to style branches that never were styled before. So yeah, it's got some potential. You know, typically in any group of bonsai, you've got, you know, like grades in school. A trees, B trees, C trees. So the first two I would consider A trees. I really like that motion, like that movement. And then the other three are probably B or C, but there's really nothing that says they can't be nice trees. It's just going to take a little bit more time. So that's it for the trimming. So now I'm going to repot them all. And I need to set that up, get a tray to catch the soil, bring my fresh soil, and begin the potting process. I'm going to start by pulling it out of the pot, which shouldn't be that hard. Nope, not that hard. And up in here, hiding somewhere, is mesh. For small pots like this, I use window screen, and that works for me. When I go to larger pots, then I begin using the plastic mesh with the bigger holes. But this guy is super healthy, there's no doubt about that. So pull some of these roots away. Most of the time you can just do it with your fingers on these small pots. And there's the window screen right there. So I'm probably going to need to cut the screen out of there. You could probably just leave it in and it wouldn't hurt the plant at all, actually. But I'm going to get it out of there. And that usually means destroying it. We've got a lot of roots that are coming and then traveling around the pot. I want to get rid of those. Even though they're not at the surface, they still need to go, because what you want is a nice fresh group of roots. So that looks pretty good. Got some moss on the top, which I'm probably going to be able to just keep. If I do need to remove the moss, then sometimes I try to put it back on, but the moss will show up sooner or later anyway, so. Okay, that looks pretty good. Do a little more pruning here. There's still some mesh. Ah, there we go. Now, that's good. Happy with that. So then get the window screen. And a lot of times, you know, you really want to clean out the pot. It's not that big of a deal. Put the window screen in. And then my soil is a mixture of lava rock, Chattahoochee rock, and calcined clay. And a little tiny bit of organic matter. I need to prune around the edge or else it's not going to fit down in there. There we go. A little bit more on this side. There we go. And you want the trunk to be 1/3 distance here and 2/3 here, so that's good. We've got the front correct. So that looks pretty good. So then it's just a matter of, I'm going to bring the whole container over so that any that falls just falls right back into the container, any new soil. And I'm covering up the moss, but that's not that big of a deal because it will re-emerge in no time. And these pots are so small you really don't need to do the chopstick thing. So there you go. There's number 1, finished. Number 2. Look at the hole there where the mesh is. the roots have just gone. All the mesh down, the mesh is just so there, up in there. But they do have, it has the roots, so I'm happy with that. There's the mesh. Let's just cut that root ball away. And I find there's a correlation between really being able to root prune a tree and how easily they root as cuttings. So Malina roots super easily as cuttings, so we really tore a lot of roots off this guy. But it'll resprout in no time, and also it's July, so it's the same procedure. Mesh in the bottom, fill it with some soil, place the tree, and then add fresh soil. I typically don't wire my trees down because I find they really don't need it that much. So, number 2. Maybe I need to bring the camera up a little. Still learning this after only 6 months. My cameraman, I'm the cameraman. I was going to make a joke, my cameraman quit on me, but no, there is no cameraman but me. So which one should we do next? How about this one here? So this guy is going to get repositioned so that this is the front. So once again, search for the mesh. And yanking the roots around the way I am, this is another good example of know your material. Malina is just a tough plant. Doesn't like cold, but otherwise there's the mesh, the old mesh. And really, this thing had almost no soil at all. Is that all the old mesh? No. There's the old mesh. Okay, so we're going to need to change the root ball on this guy because we're changing the front. So we're going to cut him differently. Test him in the pot. Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad at all. So then mesh and some soil. And then put him in there in his new position. About like that. And I forgot to wire this guy down. I really should have done the wiring first. And boy, when we wire that down, suddenly there's nothing here. But I can get some of this to grow. And like I said, this repotting process gives the roots whole brand new fresh soil to fill into. So this guy will sprout out in no time. So there we go, a third one with the front spun completely around to make a better front. And it's got some excess growth here, but for now I can't leave that stuff. Okay, moving right along. Who's next? Wasn't there an album like that? Of course, I guess you got to be a boomer to remember that album. Now here's number 4. Pretty much the same thing. Yank the roots out of there until we get to the mesh. The old mesh, there it is. Oh, that came out all in one piece. All right. Now this guy we're going to go like that. So I want to cut these roots. I want to cut the roots at a different angle now because we're putting the tree at a different angle. Get rid of that guy. So something like that. That looks pretty good. And we've got this kind of bulge here, but that's okay. I'm not going to worry about that. And then it's like a production line. Mesh, soil, plant in its new position. And you see there's a gaping hole here, so I think I am going to add even more soil on that side. And then sort of squish the plant down into there. And then just fill it with more soil. And I try not to make a mound with brand new soil because it's just going to wash out of the pot anyway. So there's number 4, which also just looks so much nicer in the new position. And then last but not least, got this guy. Which is going to be turned a little bit. Yank him out of there. Pull the roots away. And these trees are so small that I don't really even need to prune away big heavy roots because they haven't really produced any big heavy roots, and that's good. You want your bonsai to have a whole group of thin feeder roots. That's why you use the rocky bonsai soil. That's one reason. Another reason to use the rocky bonsai soil is that it lasts a long time and it won't degrade and turn to mush. I can't find the screen in here. And I'm pretty shallow, so I think I'm just going to decide that I won't be finding the screen. So I'm going to give this guy a haircut. Along the edges. Yeah, no screen that I can see. Okay, so where are we going with this guy now? I forget. Like that. Okay. So we've got the mesh, some soil. Get this guy in there. Needs to be cut a little more. Make sure you understand the ability of your trees, whatever it is you're growing, to withstand drastic procedure like this. Some trees, you've got to be much more gentle about root pruning them than what I'm being with these guys. But Melina's, as I've said in this video earlier, There's an excellent correlation between the ability of a tree to root from a cutting and the ability to really whack it when you're doing a repotting, because you know it's going to re-sprout. You're basically taking a giant cutting. So there's the fourth one. So the fifth one. And here they are, all 5 trees. Repotted. Some repositioned so they have a much nicer front. Some just put back in the same place because they were already developing the way I like. And now that they've got all brand new fresh soil, I'm going to give them a little bit of fertilizer, not too much. And then they should just take off. We've had a lot of rain here lately because it is the rainy season. And they should take off quite nicely. So I'm pretty happy with the results. Obviously they're all still young trees that are just going to develop better and better and better over time. And now they've had a little bit of a root rejuvenation, fresh soil. They should give me a lot of new growth that then I can work to create better ramification, better styling, better movement, and so on and so on. So thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and you can watch these guys continue. Like I said, the first video I did on these guys was actually September of last year, so about 9 months. And it really depends on the tree how often I do this. Sometimes it's much sooner. Sometimes once you've got a mature tree and it's a finished tree and it's in a pot and you're liking it, you don't really want to do a root pruning because you're going to get a whole bunch of excess growth that's going to just keep you too busy. But I'm happy with all 5 of these guys. I think they're going to all end up being cute trees. I love the Shohin. They're just so much easier to move around, and etc, etc. So thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.